Welcome to Security Red versus Blue Team channel. In today's session, we'll discuss on session hijacking topic. So let's get started. So we mainly cover what is session hijacking, and what are the different attacking methods. So in that, we mainly cover what is session sniffing and man in the middle attack and cross-site scripting. We'll just go through the topics, and then at the end, we'll cover what are the defense methods. So what is session? So session is basically something which is used to communicate between the two entities. It could be at the browser level, or it could be at the non-browser. Something like, let's say, if you want to check a balance, if you're a Airtel user, we'll dial *123#. So when you dial *123#, the USSD session is formed between the handset and the network. So if you look at the technical definition, the session is the time delimited two-way link, a practical layer in TCP/IP model, enabling the interactive expression and the information exchange between the two or more communication devices or the ends. So, what is session hijacking? So, hijacking is a technique used by the hackers to gain access to the target's computer or the online accounts. So, in session hijacking the attacker takes over the control of the user's browsing history, user browsing session, to gain access to their personal information or the passwords. So, it could be any other history of event that is performed by the user. So mainly, if you look at it like if you want, if somebody wants to get the session ID, the most common way is to get the cookies data. Apart from that, there could be a hidden form fields, or it could be a rewriting of URL parameters. So these are the three different ways which usually the attackers get the session details. So if you look at what are the different attacking methods, the one easiest way is to guessing the session. So if the session length is too short and it is the predictable word kind, then it can be guessed. And some companies use the logic in such a way that there will be a predefined length. Along with that, the initial 10 digits. If the length, let's say if the length is 15 digits, and first layer 10 digits will be predefined, it will never be changing, and only the last 5 digit will be changing. So these are the things that will be used by the applications. Still, some companies are using this, and so these are the two common methods, which is a big loophole for the attacker to get access. So, guessing the session and session fixing. So, apart from that, the session sniffing, and man in the middle attack and cross-site scripting. So, let's check in detail what it is. So session sniffing. Session sniffing is like stealing the session information. So this can be done by the common tools like Wireshark, or it could be a OS, the ZATAX proxy server. So if you look at the definition, this is the most basic technique used within the application layer of the so where it can be used for the session hijacking. So the attacker uses the sniffer such as Wireshark or a proxy server, such as OS ZATAX proxy, to capture the network traffic containing the session ID between the website and the client. So here, if you look at it, here the client browser is the one which we have used to browse for any applications, and the second one is the server where the web application is hosted. So initially, when we want to browse for any destination, the request will be originated from the browser, that is the client. Then the request will be reached to the server. Then server will check with the backend application, then creates the session. So once the session is created, that session information will be shared with the client, which is the client browser. If it is a phone, it will be a phone browser. If it is a laptop, it will be a laptop browser. Then after that, once the session ID is formed, now the user can perform any number of requests using that session ID. So this exchange of sequence of data will be getting exchanged between the server and the client entity. So here, if the attacker is in the network, he can capture all the data that is being exchanged at the application layer. So basically, all the protocols which comes mainly for browsing, it could be HTTP or HTTPS. So if it is a non-encrypted one, then the attacker can easily capture the traffic and decrypt the data. Can read the plain text data. If it is a HTTPS one, then it involves a lot other stuff to do. So this is one common way of stealing the session information. The next comes the man in the middle attack. So here, basically, the attacker sits in the middle of the two entities, what is the client and the server. So I think in moving on in the later session, we'll come up with a separate video on the man in the middle attack. We'll use Bobsuit proxy to act as a man in the middle attack, and we'll show some live examples of how we can redirect the payment, and other stuff. I think we have some very good examples still, which is working. Some website looks to be not secured, where we can show that how it can be performed. by using our Bob suit proxy as a man in the middle attack, for a man in the middle attack example being the hacker machine. So here what happens basically is like the request comes the once the proxy is configured, any request that is generated by the browser will be routed to the proxy, the attacker machine. So basically in our case the Bob suit, so that will redirect the parameters and it will send it to the server will read that, then respond back accordingly. I think this is one of the danger attacks. I think we'll come up with 2 3 examples in the later part of the video, in the later part of this course. So this is another example. So if you look at the technical definition, the man in the middle attack is a cyber attack in which the attacker threat in which the threat actor puts themselves in the middle of two parties. So typically a user and or an application to intercept their communication and the data exchanges and use them for malicious purpose like making unauthorized access, purchases. It could be anything. I think we'll show an example of how purchase order can be done, with one real life scenario. The next comes the cross-site scripting. So cross-site scripting is like the attacker mainly log into the trusted website, then he will inject the script in it. Then before going to the details, like in cross-site scripting, basically there are two types. One is the reflected cross-site scripting, and another one is the stored cross-site scripting. So when it comes to reflected cross-site scripting, so there anything that your attacker does, it will be limited to only to that browser. It is not it won't affect any other users who is using the browser at the same time. So that is not much impactful when it comes to reflected cross-site scripting. But when it comes to the stored cross-site scripting, any malicious script that is injected by the attacker or a hacker will be stored in the system. The next time when someone visits the same link, the same path, when they try to access the data, that script will be triggered. Then malicious actions will be performed. So this is one of the dangerous attacking technique, which stood at the in the top 10 list for many years in a row, which is there in the OWASP top 10 list, which is the Open Web Application Security Project. I think there is another video session planned on the OWASP top 10 list, and that will be covering up in the separate part. So looking at this one, cross-site scripting, so we can see in the image the attacker injects the trusted website with a malicious script. So basically, this example depicts the scenario of stored cross-site scripting. Now, in the first point, we can see that the attacker has injected a script that is stored in the system. Now, victim visits the trusted website and triggers the malicious script. So, the victim also tries to look at the particular same link where the attacker injected the malicious script. Now, what happens? The victim browser executes that script and unknowingly forwards the desired information like session cookie token, or it could be anything, any other session information that is passed. Yeah, the information, any personal information that is passed by the victim. So that's how this is how it works. I think we will have a separate. We'll come up with a separate video on a few examples of cross-site scripting as well. This is one of the famous. The hacking technique that is being discussed by the post for many years. And the last one, the what are the defense methods? So that the one of the basic defense methods that can be is like educating the users on how to use the system, mainly paying attention to the HTTP or non-HTTP websites. Mainly whenever we access any particular destination, ensure that the site is encrypted, properly encrypted. And also when you are signing out from any HTTP or non-HTTP websites, ensure that it is properly signed out, and ensure that the cookies are cleared once the session is logged out. Especially when someone is using the cyber in the outside. So ensure that the system is logged out, your account is logged out, and the history is cleared. This is the basic thing that must be done to be on safer side, and not to click on the links but copying and just pasting them. So the indirectly the user can link something to that the URL, so that the click action would trigger some other event on the device. So these are the basic things that should be taken care, and also in ensuring The application developers should ensure that the session ID is so complex which cannot be easily guessed by any user, or it can be any system. So it should ensure that the variable length session ID, or it could be different the algorithms to be used must be used to generate the session IDs. And we have to another important thing is like timing out of sessions. So we have to ensure that the session is timed out in a particular duration, not too longer. Even if it is for a genuine person who is using that account, or it could be any session. So ensure that the session is logged out in a particular amount of interval of time. And in case if the session has to be renewed without logging out, then separate policies, the methods to be implemented, just to be on the safer side. And ensure that, and the other important thing is that ensure to use always the trusted channels where SSL is enabled, the TLS, the communication is enabled. So mainly the HTTPS websites. And also so other important things like forcing re-authentication, or setting up the authentication and regeneration of the session IDs, and using the context data for validating the session IDs, and input validation. Mainly the this is mainly for cross-site scripting, which we have explained in the previous example. So this is one of the even today in our applications, the input validation is still lagged at most of the places. User can try to bypass the input and take over the backend session. So so these are the things we have covered in our today's session. So what is session, and what is session hijacking, and what are the defense methods, and we covered some of the basic methods like session sniffing, man in the middle attack, and cross-site scripting. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching the video. Please do like, share, comment, and subscribe. And we'll come back with a new video very soon on mobile hacking technique and who has stopped in vulnerabilities. Thanks once again. Thank you for watching.